Next, on Currents News, a history-making moment for the Catholic Church in America. Pope Francis names Archbishop Wilton Gregory to be the country's first African-American cardinal. Then Judge Amy Coney Barrett is on the brink of becoming the 6th Catholic justice to the Supreme Court as the Senate gets ready to vote on her confirmation. Plus,
an exciting morning as some Catholic schools forced closed by the state were able to reopen, but a dark cloud now hangs over their heads, the cost of testing. I'm Emily Drubian, that's ahead. And the inspiring story of a breast cancer survivor whose faith helped her through, how she's helping others in the fight of their lives. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. It's a milestone for the Catholic Church in America. Pope Francis announcing Sunday that Archbishop Wilton Gregory of Washington will be one of 13 new cardinals, the first African-American ever named in the United States. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has more on the historic announcement.
Terrò un concistoro per la nomina di 13 nuovi cardinali.
A groundbreaking papal announcement Sunday. 13 new cardinals, among them the first African-American cardinal ever named, Washington, D.C. Archbishop Wilton Gregory.
It's really just such a wonderful moment for the African-American Catholic community.
Father Alonzo Cox, the director of the Ministry to African-American Catholics in the Diocese of Brooklyn, says the historic announcement shows him the Holy Father is paying attention to the racial climate in the country.
The Holy Father is really looking at what's happening in our world, and is just, trying to show us and to tell us that, these men will be strong voices in the church to help us grow as a community of believers.
Cardinal Designate Gregory has already made his mark on the church. In 2002, as president of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, he spearheaded the Dallas Charter, addressing the sexual abuse of minors by Catholic clergy. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio says as the church moves forward, he believes Cardinal Designate Gregory will work toward amending the Dallas Charter.
The Dallas Charter, again, is almost 20 years old now, and something that needs to be looked at. I mean, it's not perfect. I'm not sure if he's still working with the conference. He'll be a great voice in helping us understand why we did what we did then and how we can move on to the future.
Of the 37,000 Catholic priests in the United States, only 250 are African American.
I think young African American men will look to him as an example of, this is what I could strive for one day. I think he would be a great example for vocations within our community.
As Cardinal Gregory, Bishop DiMarzio believes he will elevate the culture of African American Catholics through representation.
It's important that people see reflected in the hierarchy their own needs and concerns of their own people. So I think that's a very positive thing.
Archbishop Gregory becomes Cardinal Gregory along with the other appointees who will receive their red hats on November 28th, the eve of the first Sunday of Advent. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
The United States Bishops' Conference says that by naming Archbishop Gregory to be cardinal, Pope Francis is sending a powerful message of hope and inclusion, writing, "The naming of the first African-American cardinal from the United States gives us an opportunity to pause and offer thanks for the many gifts African-American Catholics have given the Church." Cardinal Designate Gregory was ordained an auxiliary bishop in 1983 after earning his doctorate in sacred liturgy in Rome. He was then appointed as the Bishop of Belleville, Illinois in 1994. 10 years later, Pope John Paul II named him the 6th Archbishop of Atlanta. And last year, after being named by Pope Francis, he became the 7th Archbishop of Washington, D.C. As the soon-to-be cardinal continues to make history, let's take a quick look back at his life.
As once for the disciples,
Cardinal Designate Wilton Gregory has deep-seated Midwestern roots, hailing originally from Chicago, where he graduated from the seminary and was first ordained a priest in 1973. He was the head of the Archdiocese of Atlanta for 14 years. From there, Gregory was named the Archbishop of Washington, D.C., making history as the first African-American leader of the Archdiocese.
I come to this almost indescribably humbling moment in my life and in my ministry filled with deep gratitude.
As head of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops at the height of the church sex abuse scandal, the Dallas Charter helped institute a zero-tolerance policy and guidelines for addressing allegations of abuse. The 72-year-old's views align closely with those of Pope Francis on several major issues like safeguarding the environment and protecting immigrants who are in the country illegally. 9 of the new cardinals, including Gregory, are younger than 80, which is a requirement to be allowed to vote on a successor to the pontiff. The countdown is on for the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice nominee Amy Coney Barrett. The vote, set to happen tonight, will be one of the fastest in the history of the High Court. Darrell Forges reports from Washington.
Senate Republicans set to put an end to a quick and contentious Supreme Court confirmation for Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
How do you like Amy, by the way? Isn't Amy great?
Democrats attempted to filibuster her nomination, saying the winner of the presidential election should decide the next justice.
We could have waited to after the election very easily and not divided our country further.
Barrett's addition to the court solidifies President Trump's judicial legacy and submits a conservative majority that could impact future decisions on health care and even potential disputes in the presidential election.
A lot of what we've done over the last 4 years will be undone sooner or later by the next election. They won't be able to do much about this for a long time to come.
In response, some Democrats suggested expanding the size of the Supreme Court, also known as court packing. Democratic nominee Joe Biden has not indicated where he stands on expanding the court, but said if elected, he would establish a bipartisan commission to explore changes to the Supreme Court.
I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system, because it's getting out of whack.
The coronavirus crisis also impacting the confirmation. Vice President Mike Pence will not preside over the vote as planned amid an outbreak of COVID-19 among his staff. The confirmation, expected to land largely along party lines, could also sway voters deciding key Senate contests, looking to shift the balance of power in the chamber. In Washington, I'm Darrell Forges.
With Barrett's confirmation all but expected, Americans are now asking the question, what does that mean for the next 4 years in our country? Helping us answer that question is Mark DiGirolamo, the co-director for the Center for Law and Religion at St. John's University.
To the broader point, what do I expect? I think it generally takes justices about 3 years, 3 to 4 years to really start to find their respective voices on the court. At first, she's not going to change the Supreme Court. She's not going to do things to the Supreme Court that no justice before has done. She's going to take her place among 8 other colleagues, and she's going to start figuring out bit by bit exactly what a Justice Barrett is going to look like. So the next 4 years are we have to let's start thinking about the next 3 years, right? The next 3 years after she's a justice, those are the really, I think, important ones for formative purposes.
Mark also says that upon her confirmation, Justice Barrett will immediately start in her new position. The Diocese of Brooklyn will be joining Catholics around the country as they pray for this election and want you to join in as well. The novena, spearheaded by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, is meant to help Catholics form their consciences. The closing prayer will take place the day after Election Day. That's when the U.S. bishops plan to pray that whoever wins be guided by the Holy Spirit. To help you pray along, Net TV will be broadcasting the novena. You can watch it every night before Currents News at 7 p.m., right up until Election Day on November 3rd. There's a lot more news headed your way. Some schools are reopening with in-person learning in Brooklyn and Queens hotspots. We'll break it down for you. Then, a breast cancer survivor shares her story of faith and survival and how she's helping others in the fight. And it's the highest honor a scout can achieve, how 2 teenage girls are some of the first in the country to become Eagle Scouts.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
Schools back in session in person at 4 Catholic schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn, which were forced to shut down for weeks. But the happy day also brought an unexpected budget challenge. Currents News' Emily Druby has the details from Queens.
A sea of backpacks in Forest Hills, the first time doors at Our Lady Queen of Martyrs opened in weeks. It's one of 11 Catholic schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn forced closed after hotspot flare-ups. 3 weeks later, those restrictions are being loosened and some red zones are now yellow, and school is back in session.
We were concerned that our closure could go beyond 2 weeks. So we're very, very excited to be reopening.
3 other Catholic middle and elementary schools also opened back up: Brooklyn Jesuit Prep, Brooklyn's Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and St. Nicholas of Tolentine.
I'm glad to be at school and I can see all my friends.
Relieved, excited. It feels like another opportunity to just show everyone that we're doing things right here.
When you're online, there's the bad connections and then your teacher breaking up. So it is pretty stressful. That's why I kind of like in person more.
But the reopening also brings a new set of problems. Yellow zone schools must perform weekly COVID testing. Despite this being a state mandate, New York isn't helping with the costs.
Many of us are already functioning at a deficit budget this year because of all the provisions we needed to put in place. So we're very, very cautious about how that's going to impact us in the long run.
The cost for testing, about $2,500 per week. That's on top of the tens of thousands the school has already spent this year on safety protocols. Diocesan leaders say they're working with the city and the state to address this issue. In the meantime, 6 other Catholic schools are still closed, and parents in those red zone neighborhoods have been speaking out on social media, calling elected officials and protesting. The frustration and anger is understandable, especially considering how close some of these schools are to the yellow zones. For example, here at Good Shepherd Catholic Academy, both the church and the school are on this side of the street, which is considered to be a red zone, but directly across the street over here is actually considered to be a yellow zone.
Which just adds to the disappointment and the discouragement that everybody is facing, teachers and faculty, staff, students and parents, all eager to get back to school.
Parents and grandparents like Thomas DEPRISCO believe the zones need a closer look.
A true leader will look at, if you're hearing complaints, say, oh, wait a minute, we can tweak it.
A neighborhood's positivity rate has to be under 3% for 10 days for the restrictions to be loosened. Right now, it's not clear when that will be, but Governor Andrew Cuomo has been praising the plan, saying there has been a drop in red zone cases. Emily Druby, Currents News.
October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and one breast cancer survivor from the Diocese of Brooklyn says her diagnosis has made her faith in God stronger. MAUREEN Brody just celebrated 1 year of being cancer-free and joins us now to talk about her journey and how she's giving back. MAUREEN, you were diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago. How were you able to strengthen your faith during such a difficult time?
Yes, so during that time, I found it very important to be able to surrender my fear and all of my feelings to a power greater than myself. And I found that ability through going back to church. I grew up in an Irish Catholic family, so that practice was something that was strong as a child. And as an adult, I fell into that busy lifestyle where I sort of grew away from that. And then it just became something that was really important to me to become closer to God and to continue that practice of prayer.
As someone who's gone through the ordeal of breast cancer, talk about how important it is for women to get checked.
So important. So I was lucky enough to have my diagnosis very early on. So when I was diagnosed, I was in stage 1. So the process of the treatment was much less and much easier than had it spread or gone further along.
Right.
So definitely that's very important. Also, when I first found out, it was due to a dimple that I had on my breast. And that was something that I had never heard of before. I often have heard of checking for a lump, right? Like that's what everybody tells us. For me, I didn't have a lump, I had a dimple. And I just thought it was through the process of getting older, and maybe it was a form of cellulite or something. And it was just something I never heard of. I think a lot of people haven't heard of that as well.
And you do a lot of fundraising for breast cancer research. Tell us how you use your Bay Ridge Wellness Center to help raise money.
Yes, so we have deep roots in our community through the Green Spot Wellness Center, and we've always done fundraising for breast cancer. It was just something that was near and dear to our hearts. And so we use our influence and our outreach to reach out to the community and ask them to give, as well as we would host events in our wellness center so that people can come. We had, for many years, we had done a spa for a cure night, so you can come and have some spa treatments, and we would donate to that cause.
Wow. And tell us about the Pink Lotus Radiation Recovery Cream. You've said you believe there was divine intervention when you created it. How so?
Yes. So during radiation, all the doctors tell you to thoroughly moisturize so that you can help prevent or heal some of the burns and some of the reactions that your skin can have. And for me, through the Wellness Center, I'm a strong believer in using natural products and not putting chemicals onto my body. So this was something that was very like near and dear to my heart. It was a strong belief of mine that I didn't really want to put chemicals on my body, especially during the time of radiation and during the time of going through a cancer treatment. So I did a lot of research, and I had a lot of connections through the Wellness Center and through my doctors, and had a lot of suggestions of different ingredients, natural ingredients to put on my body during that time. And you can't carry with you like 10 or 12 or more different bottles to do, which is not practical. So I just sort of started combining the ingredients, and I had no recipe. I just started combining them, and as I started mixing it, it turned into this like really beautiful luxurious cream. And people asked me, where did you get that recipe? And I said, the Blessed Mother? I don't know, because it just sort of came to me. It wasn't something that I had ever done before, and it worked really well for myself.
Oh, that's great. Maureen Brody, co-owner of the Green Spa and Wellness Center in Bay Ridge. Thanks for joining us, and we're glad you're doing well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And if you or someone you know would like to purchase one of Maureen's lotions, you can go to legendofthespa.com for more information. Still to come on Currents News, it's Scouting's biggest honor. We'll tell you all about the two teenage girls who are among the first to be named Eagle Scouts. Stay with us. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Finally tonight, two young girls have made history.
Kaylin DeMattei says some things are worth the effort.
The weeds were like as tall as me, and so we had to shovel them all down, and it took a long time to do.
Kaylin and her friend BETSY CHAPEAU are scouts, and both are chasing the highest honor a scout can achieve.
I've never done anything this big, and I've never led a group of people before that were like including grown-ups.
They're on a quest to become Eagle Scouts. They started 19 months ago when the Boy Scouts of America became Scouts BSA and allowed girls to join separate troops.
So when they allowed the girls into Scouts, Halen's like, yes, I want to do it. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we started a troop.
Making the rank of Eagle isn't something they just give to a scout. You got to earn it, and it's not easy.
Most kids, it takes them anywhere 4 to 5 years to accomplish what these girls have done at the age of 13.
There you go.
Halen and Betsy have each earned more than 24 merit badges, and they'll be part of the very first all-girls Eagle class.
Not a lot of people get their Eagle Scout. They usually quit because it's a really long process, but if I stuck with it, so it's good.
And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.